الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we are going to be talking about Muslims and Christians who were historically more violent. Now we see many Christians claiming that, oh, you Muslims, you're terrorists and stuff like that. So today we are going to be disproving that claim by looking at history and concluding which religion, which people were really the terroristic ones. So without further ado, let's begin. Hope you guys enjoy. Now, let's first take a look at the Christian side, shall we? Alright, so at first we have the Crusades, which were a series of expeditions held by the Christians. They were started in 1095 and there were a total of 8 crusades and they ended in 1291. So basically, these crusades lasted for about 200 years. Now, how many people died during these crusades? 1.7 million people died due to this. And at the time being, the world population was about 300 million. So this basically killed off almost 1% of the entire world's population. Now, the Crusades, which were held by Christians, killed 1.7 million people. However, let's take a look at some other things which killed many people. And these other things were again led by Christians. Alright, so here we have the Spanish Inquisition. Now, if you don't know what this is, the Spanish Inquisition is basically a judicial constitution which was established by Christians. It was started in 1478 November the 1st and ended in 1834 July 15th. It lasted for about 400 years. And how many people did the Spanish Inquisition kill? 30,000 to 300,000. And these are just rookie numbers. Some historians even think that it was in the millions. But I'm going to be genuine over here and just say, for the sake of this video, that it was about 30,000 to 300,000. Now let's take a look at another violent case in Christian history. Although I do have to tell you, this next one was more brutal and violent than the two I just showed you. So be prepared. Alright, guys, so now we have the Holocaust. The Holocaust was basically a genocide held by Hitler, who was a Christian. It was started in 1941 and ended in 1945. That is 4 years. And it killed about 6 million Jews. That's more people than the Crusaders and the Spanish Inquisition combined. Now, these were specific events and genocides which were held by Christians. Now, let's take a look at certain events which were not specifically held by Christians, but the Christians were the ones who started it. Alright, guys, so now we have World War One. World War One began between Christian people. It began with the death of Archduke, who was a Christian. So basically, World War One began in a conflict between two Christians. It was started in 1914 and ended in 1918. That's 4 years, and it killed 40 million people. 40 million people died just because two Christians were held in a conflict. Unfortunately, this wasn't the only world war which was started by Christians. So now we have World War II. World War II began when Germany invaded Poland. And need I remind you, the one who invaded Poland, the leader of Germany at that time, was Adolf Hitler. Yup, the same guy who held the Holocaust and was a Christian. So this war started in 1939 and ended in 1945. That is 6 years. And it killed about 75 million people. 75 million people died in this war, which was started initially by a Christian. Now let's take a look at another genocide held by a Christian. Alright, so we now have the Iraq War, which was started by George Bush, who was a Christian, by the way. It was started in 2003 and ended in 2011, and about 1 million innocent Iraqis died in this war. Now, if I'm being honest with you, I can go on and on about genocides and deaths which were initially done by Christians. However, I'm taking a stop over here. Now, let's take a look at the Muslim side and how many innocent people Muslims actually killed, historically speaking. Now, Saddam Hussein was a Muslim, an Iraqi Muslim, and he killed about 182,000 people. So you can just add the 182,000 over here on this list. Now let's take a look at 9/11. This is actually the main reason why people call us Muslims terrorists because of 9/11. But if you ask me, 9/11 was done by George Bush or Barack Obama, but it was not done by Muslims. But for the sake of this video, just to make the Christians like David Wood and Sam Shimon happy, I'll say, for the sake of the video, that 9/11 was done by Muslims, and about almost 3,000 people died in it. So add 3,000 to your list as well. Now, let's take a look at an actual genocide which was done by Muslims. No, I'm not saying this to make the Christians happy. This is historically true, and I, as a Muslim, am of course ashamed of it. Alright, so now we got Operation Searchlight. This was an operation done in 1977 by Yahya Khan and Tikka Khan, who were both from Pakistan and they were Muslims. And about 3 million innocent Bengalis died in this. This was an all-out genocide, and it was the second biggest genocide to the Holocaust. And it was done by Muslims. Now, these were actually all the violent cases which I could find on Muslims. Now, you might say, what about during the time of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where they did jihad and killed people? Well, guess what? War doesn't mean violence, alright? War is done to defend a place, and jihad, which our Prophet did, was actually against the kuffar, and the Prophet never attacked any combatant, and he also told his companions not to attack any non combatant. He never attacked any non combatant. So, no, that wasn't violence, that was simple war, and there is nothing wrong with defending your people. So, now let's see how many people did Christians kill overall and how many people Muslims killed overall, historically speaking. Now, if you add all the people killed in the Crusades, in the Spanish Inquisition, in World War One, in World War Two, in the Holocaust, and in the Iraq War, then 124 million people were killed by Christians overall. Now, in the Muslim side, if you add the brutal regime of Saddam Hussein, 9/11, and Operation Searchlight, then about 3.1 million people died. They were killed by Muslims. So I think it's safe to say that historically, Christians were more violent and killed more people than Muslims. So if you're a Christian and the next time you feel like saying, "Oh, you terrorist Muslim scum," then just remind yourself of your own history. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم